I don't remember any other year with so much anticipation towards new creative directors. It's either very big names going to new fashion houses, new to them, or very big fashion houses welcoming new creative directors. I am concentrating on what happened in Paris Fashion Week, and I will talk about a few of them. The last days I was sitting with a lot of books and I did so much research, and I'm very excited. I hope you will love this. Water is wet, but you know, not every creative director would work for any fashion house. Basically, you are using a runway as a tool to broadcast house values, to broadcast the story, the universe this brand is trying to tell you. And I think that's why a good match of creative director and a fashion house is not taken for granted. I think the most anticipated creative director was Sarah Burton for Givenchy. And I think this is kind of so symbolic because Sarah Burton worked for 26 years for Alexander McQueen in this house. She started as a trainee, and after Alexander McQueen passed away, she took over as a creative director. McQueen also worked for Givenchy as a creative director, and he also had very mixed reactions, the same as Sarah Burton. I think Alexander McQueen maybe was a bit more controversial, and it's definitely a sad story. And McQueen brought this gothic look to Givenchy a lot, and it was his aesthetic at that time. Sarah Burton took completely different approach. During the renovation of Maison, a cupboard was discovered, and in that cupboard they found sketches and patterns, original patterns from 1952, and 1952 was the first collection by Hubert de Givenchy. So Sarah Burton took a lot of inspiration in this. I think this was the best time. It just landed on her lap, basically, these new sketches and patterns. Givenchy is most known for dressing Audrey Hepburn, probably, and as people see Givenchy as very classy, very traditional brand. It wasn't the case at that time because Hubert de Givenchy started very young. He was a designer at his namesake brand by 24 or 26-year-old. I think 24. He was 24 years old when he established this brand. And at that time, it was very youthful, very power woman, and he used very mundane fabrics like denim and cotton. And you know, at that time it's mind-blowing because everybody had to use this very refined, very sophisticated fabrics, and denim was not one of them. If you compare it to Balenciaga or Dior of that time, Givenchy was a bit more casual, and he did a lot of this architectural styles. So this was very important introduction because now we are coming back to Sarah Burton, and her inspiration was this first collection of Givenchy. And as a first model, we see this very simplistic mesh bodysuit, catsuit, with Givenchy 1952 on the chest, and it kind of lays the baseline of this whole collection, of this whole theme where we are going to. Mesh, I see this mesh fabric actually as a tribute to Givenchy, to these mundane fabrics I was talking about, because he actually had some mesh in that time. Of course, it looked completely different, but it's also not classy per se. It's not something you would expect from such a traditional fashion house. I think the most eye-catching piece of this whole collection are these neck scarves, these oversized leather neck scarves, because Hubert de Givenchy also had these pieces in his first collection, and most importantly, Audrey Hepburn would constantly wear these. If you just make, you know, a quick research of the first Givenchy collection, you would see a lot of things being repeated here by Sarah Burton, but in a modern way, like these sag back shape of the dresses, the gloves, these, you know, crunched, almost sloppy gloves, leather gloves, even historical shapes of bras. I wasn't able to find the pictures of the fittings from 1952, but of course Sarah Burton has this access to his archive, and I was thinking maybe this shape of this bra was also referencing this historical shape of the bras of that time. You know, a lot of people were hoping for this gothic, dark, themed Givenchy, but Givenchy has very long history. I think this gothic theme was brought in by Riccardo Tisci, which I loved so much. Riccardo was very respected at that time, and people were hoping the same from Sarah Burton, but Givenchy has so much. You know, I read somewhere that this collection is for female gaze, and I totally agree with that. I think this is very powerful, very sexy, and also brings back this youthful look. I think Sarah Burton is very capable of doing well-researched collection, and this is exactly what she did. It just depends, what are you expecting from this? You cannot have a name like Sarah Burton, who is very well established, and respect her to copy Riccardo Tisci's aesthetic. I think it's not fair, and it would be just ridiculous. I think she's capable of much more, and here she just decided to come back, you know, to the starting point, and I really respect that. And I am very curious for the next collection. Will she take the same path of going with this youthful but historical look, or will she bring more of what she learned at Alexander McQueen? I know that some people were a bit bored of her at Alexander McQueen. Okay, now it's the time. We have to talk about Alexander McQueen. This is a very hard name for me to pronounce. Sean McGurr was assigned as a creative director 1.5 years ago, and 1 year ago he had his first collection in Alexander McQueen. I think before he was ahead of ready to wear at Alexander McQueen. And here we have to talk about why Sarah Burton left in the first place. There is no clear answer. You know, they are talking all around, and oh my god, I'm so thankful you gave me a chance, and we are so thankful to Sarah, but we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. So basically, allegedly, it could be that, you know, Alexander McQueen is owned by Kering, and Kering now is doing some very weird stuff in organization, and Kering reassigning new creative directors that are very cheap because they are young. Sabato De Sarno is definitely cheaper than Alessandro Michele, you know, now he's gone, but anyways, and Sean is definitely cheaper than Sarah Burton, and they just like to do this thing. The theory is that they are hoping for this brand to be more commercially wearable, because, you know, McQueen wasn't selling as good. McQueen didn't have this rave about accessories and bags and shoes, let's say Gucci had. Oh no, I'm sorry. Sean McGurr was actually head of ready-to-wear of JW Anderson, and he's also he also has experience at low-wear, so maybe that was the main motivation for Kering. Who knows? But it was kind of sad that, I don't know, I just hope that Sarah Burton left on her own accord. We don't know what happened, okay? It just, everything assumptions. This collection is just sad to watch. As somebody who's a huge fan of Alexander McQueen, and when I'm talking about Alexander McQueen, I'm talking about his own era until 2010. And Alexander himself, he always advocated for this free expression and this imagination, and, you know, he was very controversial. He was inspired by this grotesque and brutality, and he would combine everything in such a romantic way. Love and beauty were central to his vision. He was a hopeless romantic, and you would see a lot of this historicism, especially Victorian, Gothic and Scottish heritage. Once he commented on his concepts on the runway shows, because a show was so important to him. Find it on YouTube, watch the shows of McQueen. I beg you, you will be different person after this. And anyways, he said, in fashion, the show should make you think. There is no point in doing if it's not going to create some sort of emotion. I don't want to do a cocktail party. I would rather people left my shows and vomited. He also had this technical brilliance because he was trained in Savile Row, and he would be able to cut new patterns just during fittings, and that's how he designed. It was a lot of intuition. You know, he had like very gory details. Like for his first collections, he had like a strand of hair encapsulated in the label, you know, like with plexiglass in the label at the back. This was the value. This was the signature of Alexander McQueen. What is this, what we are seeing now? Please tell me. It's horrible. What are these skulls? You have archived the whole Alexander McQueen, and what you take from that, it's skulls. But at this point, it's clear they just want to sell, because these skulls, they were first introduced. I don't know, McQueen himself definitely introduced that, and I think this was the first sellable, desirable product, like, you know, these scarves and stuff like that. He had some references of very early Alexander McQueen era, you know, these very body hugging silhouettes, these shoulders of Victorian era, and military braiding, but it's too clean. Where is grotesque? We want to vomit, we want to hate it, we want to be traumatized. Where is all that? You just go to Alexander McQueen and you don't feel anything. It just, lack of this emotion and passion is shocking to me. Also, there was this point where I was so confused, because this lilac dress and the model had sweat stains, and to me it was so McQueen thing to do, to have this very elegant, very romantic dress and to add something like that. And I was thinking, was it on purpose? But then it never happened again on the runway, so I think that was accident. The most unusual pairing, I was so shocked but also so excited when I learned this months ago. Haider Ackermann for Tom Ford. Talking about why. Tom Ford left his brand in 2022, I think, to concentrate more on his other creative work. You know, he's a filmmaker. I don't know if I will you throw stones very hardly on me if I told you that he's better director as a fashion designer? I really think that, and I'm very excited about his movies. Nocturnal Animals traumatized me for life. It's a very good movie. I don't want to see it in my life. And you know, Haider Ackermann is very respected designer in the field. He wasn't always commercially successful per se, but he was a designer for fashion critics, if you know what I mean. You know, a bit niche, a bit misunderstood. Again, very professional. Tailoring is tailoring, and colors are his strengths. He's a very good colorist, and I think they are kind of revamping this Tom Ford aesthetic. You know, Tom Ford, for me, doesn't have really an aesthetic different than sexy and confident, but there are a lot of brands like that. It doesn't have, for me, it's new brand, you know, it's new brand. It was established in 2010. I think his first collections were good, but everything after 2012 is just dumpster fire. I'm sorry, I'm very outspoken. I'm very genuine and honest person, okay? His brand wasn't doing good lately, but he was always very commercially oriented. Ackermann said that he was referencing more 1996 collection by Tom Ford at Gucci and Tom Ford's collection for 2011 fall, spring. This runway It's so psychopathic. I love it. Like this steamed mirrors, and it's intimate and almost eerie, almost creepy. If you have seen the movie American Psycho, it's just this cleanliness everywhere, and it's very confident. It's almost too clean, almost too pedantic, and I am living for this new aesthetic for Tom Ford. Because, you know, talking about sexiness, this is a lot of complaint that Haider Ackermann is not able to make it as sexy as it was with Tom Ford. But you know, sexy is very open for interpretation. Is boobs out sexy to you, or are bare naked ankles are sexy to you? Neck, a bit of naked back, this secret, this untold story, this very well crafted tailoring, this is very sexy to me. And I think this could be in brand for Tom Ford, but in very tasteful and not trashy way anymore. It just, the whole collection feels very intellectual, and this minimalism, we can talk, I don't know if I can call it minimalism. Haider Ackermann himself said that Tom Ford was the nightlife and Haider is the morning after. I don't know, this cocaine look, this bare legs, micro shorts, it's kind of getting old because they are literally using it in every collection possible. Even from commercial point of view, how many of these can you sell? Like, who older than 25 would wear that? And usually people until 25-year-old, they don't have this sort of money. So for me, even for commercial wearability, this collection, this approach to sexiness makes much more sense. Personal preference, but I'm realistic. Personally, I would prefer to see Haider Ackermann in the house where he would be able to make this wearable avant-garde. I understand that Tom Ford is not a house for that. If Haider is happy, then I am happy. I think this was a very beautiful collection. He has very deep understanding of structure and color, and the tailoring is so sharp. Look at the details, like literally go on Vogue runway, look at the details, you see how well made it is. So, okay, we have 3 brands. I think it's more than enough. Thank you, bye.